That's scary indeed. But again, welcome everybody to the NuttyCast. I'm really excited for this Newbie Tuesday because I am joined by, well, now two people. There was one before, but then a second one just kind of snuck in there. And that is, we have the one and only Nita Pickle and Deadfire, aka Deadfire. Both are members of the 228. Deadfire, of course, is the leader of the 228. Nita Pickle's part of the 228 Swamp Foxes.
Hello.
They're the Swamp Foxes light pilot too, so someone who knows way more about light mechs than I do. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn this down. So Pickle, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you today?
I'm doing good. And Deadfire, I hope you're having a fantastic day today, sir.
I'm having a day. Yes.
You're having a day. You know what? So am I. So first of all, let's get this out of the way. Of course, again, we need a Pickle and Deadfire are actually both streamers, believe it or not. So if you haven't already checked these guys out, make sure you do so. Of course, Nita Pickle is gearing up for a face reveal. He is going to be showing his mug on stream, not his pickle, but his mug. And of course, everybody knows Deadfire from not only Les Leader 228, but of course the purveyor of Storytime here in the NuttyCast. Oh, what's this? What's this? Pickle comes in with a host. Speaking of Pickle, we see we got.
I was hosting you earlier.
You were hosting me earlier. Ah, I see. All right, Pickles.
That's what I thought of. Anyway.
Oh, you thought you were. All right, so Pickle.
I thought I was.
Pickle.
Hello.
Tell me about yourself. Who are you? What are you?
Who am I? I'm a secret agent. You may get no information. No, I'm just kidding. So my name is Nita Pickle. I've been playing MechWarrior Online since about 2013, and I do heavily enjoy it. I have been part of 228 for almost just over a year. I joined last January, and yeah, I mean, I'm a competitive MechWarrior player, and I'm also a regular Twitch streamer. And yeah, I'm getting ready for a face reveal. I think that pretty much sums it up.
Woo! I'm excited. That makes me excited. All right, this is so.
And I'm a primary light pilot. Sorry, I completely forgot about this part. I'm a primary light pilot for 228 Swamp Foxes. I've been part of them for about a year now.
Woo!
Anyway, yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Excellent. All right, so this is what we're gonna do. We're like I mentioned before, we're gonna give a little bit of time for. Whoa! What's it? What? Hang on. What was this? What was this? Father Bill comes in with a 2-month resub. Father Bill, good afternoon to you, sir. How you doing? I hope you had a fantastic day. 2 months as a supporter of the NuttyCast. One and only Father Bill. By the way, guys, Father Bill is another absolutely fantastic MechWarrior streamer. I will say that I have met Father Bill, Nita Pickle, and Deadfire, though apparently I don't remember it, all at MechCon a few months ago.
Yes, that is correct. And I got to ride in Nutty's super awesome pimp mobile.
It's not a pimp mobile. It's not a pimp mobile.
It's gold and it's got a lot of spacious legroom.
All right, give me 1 second here. I just gotta quickly tweet out. I kind of did this in all the wrong order. So bear with me a moment. It is time for Newbie Tuesday.
Yay!
Alright, guys. Join. We talk about light mechs. Apparently I can type. Oh no. Got Snow Galaxy, Twitch TV, all the things. Make sure I'm actually typing things correctly. There we go. Tweet. And then we'll do this. Where is a copy link to tweet? If you guys feel like doing it, if you want to help out the cause and grow this out, go and retweet that And let's see if we can fill this up full of people that want to learn how to do things. Davros, thank you very much for those bits. All right, so Pickle, that's your introduction. Deadfire, do you want to introduce yourself and let people know who you are?
No.
Okay, then fine. then screw you.
Seems reasonable.
Seems reasonable. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. All right, so what we'll do is let's get a couple of let's just do a couple drops here. Mostly because I want to get warmed up and need a pickle. Where are you? There you are. And we'll kind of get we'll do a couple drops just to get warmed up, and then we can get right into talking about how to actually play and use light mechs, how, you know, and where are they used, when are they used, how you should play them, what, as a brand new player, you know, you're making your decision on what first, you know, the first 4 mechs that you're buying, and you want to buy a light mech, what light mech should you buy, those sorts of things. And of course we'll do a little bit of 1v1s and kind of talk about kind of some like positioning strategies and everything like that. Pickle's got lots of things planned for us. I'm really excited.
I got the deal.
He's got the dill. That's right. Oh, whoa! Lefty Frizz comes in.
Woot woot, newbie training.
Yes, indeed. Newbie training, Lefty. Thank you for that 3-month resub. Deadfire, as soon as you're ready, sir, we can get the first drop out of the way.
Right.
8, good to see ya. How you doing? Yes, we are using up absolutely no tonnage. That is awesome.
Oh, we have to be light, right?
We do. After all, it is light day.
I'm using a panther.
Ooh. And do you enjoy?
I'm using the tried and true Wolfhound with a bunch of pulse lasers.
Oh, you got the resistance version of that one too.
I do. It's beautiful.
You fancy. And I'm using the Piranha because I just feel like being a prick. Darkstone tried to pilot lights, but ended up making toast or becoming toast. Well, if you pilot the right light mech, then you can make toast, like my Piranha.
That is true.
My Piranha makes toast.
And that's something I'll get into later on, is the roles, knowing which role your specific mech brings to the table and what you should do with it.
Yeah, that'll be good. Because I think every weight class kind of has their own, I'll say, kind of unique role, and then there's a lot of crossover roles that you can do.
Yeah, there's like sub-roles, if you will.
Like, for instance, the urban mech, the smallest assault mech you can find. Moreland, I can run light mechs when I am with other light pilots, but alone she gets wrecked. Oh, well. Now, Pickle, correct me if I'm wrong. Like a really, you know, part of being a good light pilot. Okay, fine, I'm wrong. Never mind. That's it. Stream over, everybody. Good game. Well played. See you later.
Yeah.
No. What I was gonna say.
I'm sorry. Please continue.
What I was gonna say is that because a light mech is probably not the very first mech that you should get as a new player.
No, definitely not.
And
it's piloting lights is, you need to know how to play the game first. And like, personally, I'd recommend playing something like a heavy, just to get the ropes and learn how to play the game. And then when you feel comfortable in the heavies, then you could move over to the other weight classes and learn their specific roles. But yes, light mechs are probably one of the more difficult, if not the most difficult, chassis to run in the game.
Right. I think your adoring fans in the game are calling you out.
Oh, they are? I actually can't hear VoIP right now.
Oh, okay.
But I do know these people, so I will say hello.
They were yelling, Pickle! Pickle! Alright, so there's Deadfire and his Panther. I'm right here. Deadfire. I'm to your left. Your other left. It's kind of hard to miss me because I am a very my piranha is very colorful.
Now, Pickle, you need to tell
Yes,
me,
sir.
why is it very important to know and play the game to be a light pilot?
Sorry, could you repeat what the question is that you asked?
Why is it important to know the game before you become a light pilot?
Don't mind me just crashing into the wall here. Well, before you hop into a specific mech like a light, you want to know the general positions of, you want to learn the mechanics of how to operate your mech, how to fire your lasers. You want to get used to the game.
Top of the spire.
You want to get used to where everybody normally goes. You want to get used to the maps. You need, as a light mech, you really need to know the maps. That's something that's very important. You need to know where you can scout from, where you can look and not be shot at, stuff like that. I have a really difficult time talking while I'm also trying to play the game. So this would be a great question for me to answer after the drop.
No problem, Pickle. No problem.
I guess I could walk through what I'm doing right now. I mean, I'm just scouting right now, so there's a mech up there on the hill. Echo Huntsman up on the spire. He just shot me with PPCs. So a light's, no matter what light you're in, the light's main role is scouting and relaying information to your team. And then depending on the specific mech that you have, you're gonna have a different role. Just gonna get into the fight here. Stop firing. Avo's dead. Let's focus golf next target, King Crab.
Golf, roger that.
You got a few mechs up on the window.
I'm poking them.
Hotel?
Yeah, hotel's Russian.
You got 2 mechs coming in behind us.
Machine gun destroyed.
Eyes on enemy contact.
You got 3 mechs coming, pushing in to
Kilo?
the left,
Yeah, right side.
to the back end.
Yeah, right side Delta 6 there. Kilo. Ooh, Kilo's very fresh.
Strike on us. Watch it. Strike on us. You're 2 grouped up. We need to split up a bit. Spread out a little bit. Start getting a firing line going.
Left side here, Alpha, Arctic Cheetah, or Hotel. Hotel center torso.
Eyes on
golf.
enemy contact.
Target destroyed. New target acquired.
We're so bunched up.
Charlie Stormcrow. Half.
Light armor destroyed. Machine gun ammo destroyed. Machine gun destroyed. Armor destroyed. New target acquired.
Well, that sucked.
New target acquired. Red flag destroyed.
Running at them isn't the funnest thing, is it?
Warrior, respond. This is Clan Command.
So, that could have ended better.
Well, we were also against one of the Smoke Adders competitive teams.
Yeah.
And they're pretty damn good.
Didn't quite end very well.
No.
So Deadfire, to elaborate on your question, it was why should you know how to... Sorry, could you just ask me it one more time?
Why is it important to know the game, as in how you put it, so that you can pilot light mechs?
Yeah, so more or less what I said before, so then you can learn the very basic ins and outs of the game, so you can get familiar with the maps, As I touched on before, a big part of a light mech is positioning and also scouting, relaying information to your team. So you need to know where to go to relay that information so you can see across the map. You can see where the enemies are going, what builds they're running, stuff like that. And also, like personal skill-wise, piloting a light is a lot different than piloting a heavy or a medium or assault. They have a very specific role. And in order to do that role, you already need to have the basics down pat. And if you don't have those basics down, then you're not going to have a very good time in lights.
Sure. So yeah, it's almost like a third choice mech that you should go for, like optimally, because you've got, you know, like the kind of the mediums and heavies. I think they're kind of like right in the Goldilocks zone for a new player, because the assaults are just too slow, the lights are too fast, right? The mediums and the heavies are kind of just right.
Yeah, I'd say mainly heavies. Mediums can be a little bit less tanky, and they require more heat management. But I would say mainly heavies. If you're a brand new pilot, you want to obviously start out. I think, in my opinion, would be to start out in heavies, and then go from there. And yeah, just learn the maps, learn the weapons. Like if you're completely new to the game and you don't know anything about the weapons, you want to learn what weapons look like, the cooldowns on the weapons, stuff like that. That's another thing that you need to learn. There's a lot of stuff that you need to know ahead of going into playing a light and being good at it.
And I think probably the most important one for knowing what you're getting into with lights is really positioning more than anything else.
For the most part, yes. Positioning and you know, I guess this comes into personal skill, but like a few of the points I have written down here are never stand still. You never want to stand still in a light mech because they don't have the armor of a heavy or a medium or an assault. So if you stand still in one spot and you're just firing at an enemy, there's another enemy that can shoot you. And if they get a good solid burn in on your torso or something, most lights run XLs, so then you die.
Sure.
Another thing is if you are running, you don't want to run in a straight line. You want to do like an arch or a zigzag, or you want to keep your torso twisted if you're running away.
Serpentine.
Yeah, exactly.
As our infamous Pisces Zero has said, wiggle, 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 so your ass doesn't get blown out the side.
There we go. Karath, it's good to see you. Thank you for the bits. Chaotic Harmony, thank you for that host. I hope you're doing well as well. Dat Booty, good to see you, man. How's it hanging?
And yeah, a big thing about lights is positioning. Like getting yourself into a position, depending on what your role is, to either attack the enemy heavies and assaults, or to screen the enemy lights from attacking your heavies and assaults. And like, for example, and that goes into knowing your role. Like for me, for example, in the Wolfhound, I've got 5 medium pulse lasers. I've got a very decent amount of DPS that I can put down range, so I can either engage in a 1v1 with another mech, with another light mech, to prevent that light mech from attacking my friendlies, or I could, if the drop caller asks me to, go in and start harassing enemy heavies and assaults, trying to get off their torsos. But if you're running like Piranha, for example, or a mech that can boat a lot of machine guns, your primary role is not really going to be screening lights because you don't have the DPS, or like, I guess in the case of the Piranha, the Mistlinks, you don't have the armor to take on a 1v1 fight. So your main role is going to be critting out the weapons of enemy mechs. It's going to be less being aggressive, more of just waiting for the right time, focusing on the heavier mechs, getting their weapons out of the fight. Whereas with the example of the Wolfhound, you're more of an aggressor, a flanker. You can take on mechs and still kick ass.
Yeah, for sure. I switched over to the Wolfhound just so we could run Wolfies together.
I see that.
Gonna be so much fun. Ooh, battery. Ooh, a piece of candy.
Oh, piece of candy.
You probably should get that battery.
Yep,
And then turn on the radar.
Yeah, our we have a commando that grabbed a battery as well, so I'll go for jammer.
Well, if he doesn't go for radar, then go for radar. But yeah, jamming if he goes for radar.
Sure.
So the enemy, most of the enemies are I8, I9.
Target.
Juliet 9 moving into I9 right now.
So radar turned on, so yeah.
Yeah.
We'll go for jammer.
They're poking the left-hand side of India 9. Beware. Make sure you have cover. Main cover. Find something.
We're in India 9 right now.
Target sighted.
Sorry, I meant Juliet 8, not India 9.
Enemy spotted.
Well, shit, at this rate, I might as well just put it right back into freaking radar again.
Eyes on. Enemy contact.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, the big thing about lights is giving information to your team about what's going on the enemy side.
Eyes on enemy contact.
So like, for example, right now we have, everybody's pretty much balled up. But if I wanted to go for a specific thing, I'd say like Lima is a
Alright.
ECM mech
Advance on
who's
India
going
8.
to
Where
the
you guys
left
down?
side. which is
Orion,
Sentinel
we're going
9.
to need you in front in a moment.
It's a Hellbringer, sorry, it's got ECM. But I'm pretty sure it's alone. So if a mech like that is alone, you want
Alright, let's put
make
the
sure to
pressure
call
on.
that
Go.
out. That way people know that that there are less mechs together on the field. Just kind of hang around your assaults or
New
whatnot.
target acquired.
Alright, I refilled radar just because it was getting low.
Another thing is, in the middle of the battle, you really don't want to take a lot of damage because in a situation like right now, I'm sitting in the back with my assaults, protecting them from any lights that may come around to the left or right. I don't have the range for the sort of engagement, whereas my assaults do, so I'm going to stick around away from the enemy fire, keeping myself as fresh as possible for when the fight gets into a brawl
Focus the
scenario.
assault down.
And when
Correct.
mechs become open on either side, I can go in and take them out while trying to take as least amount of damage as possible. So like Lima, Hellbringer's core, CT. So Lima's a primary target.
New
Smoke on
target
the assaults, watch
acquired.
out.
And you
New
guys in
target
open?
acquired.
Enemy spotted.
Target destroyed. New target acquired.
Right in my fire there, Nita.
Eyes on. Enemy
New
contact.
target acquired.
Good job, Jill.
They felt good, didn't they?
Hello, Tofurkey.
New target
You
acquired.
guys have it.
India's in the open, King Crab. Left torso.
India.
Yeah, we're chatting
India's
a lot
pushing
about,
left torso.
Target
Torso's gone,
destroyed.
CT.
New target
Lima?
acquired.
Next target, Lima.
Target destroyed.
Next target, Hotel, Nova. Let's make a push. Let's push.
them, guys. Push Hotel 9.
Radar is out of power.
We got a Nova coming on you, Nutty.
New target acquired.
Yeah, both torsos in center.
Get the CT.
Target destroyed.
I got a land mech on me. It's a Cheetah Alpha.
Yep, we're coming.
Heat level critical.
Center alpha.
Other torso's on Alpha. It's a clan mech, so get other torso off and it dies. Last mech is Delta. We can just push on him. I think it's a Blackjack. It's a Blackjack.
Yep.
CT cord.
Target destroyed.
So another big part of running light mechs is knowing how to look at an enemy, determine what build it is,
Eyes on enemy
and
contact.
determine where the best place to call a target, like to call a component. Sorry, allow me to re-explain. The knowledge of calling a left torso on a Hellbringer because that's where all of its laser hard points are, stuff like that. Calling open components. If you're a newer player, you might not know the ins and outs of those components. You might not know the specific mechs. Like for example, in the case of the Jenner and the Jenner 2C, I know that you should focus CT on those because I've got a very big CT hitbox. And like, I guess for clan mechs in general, if either torso is open, you can just pop both torsos, and then the mech dies because it's a clan mech. It's usually running an LFE style engine, so that's good to know. And those are the types of things that you need to know prior to going into lights if you want to do calling. Because again, a lot of light play is relaying critical information to your team, like for example, open components on mechs, and like what the mechs are running. And I guess another thing is knowing where the weapons are on those specific mechs, so then you can get those torsos open or call those torsos, so then your friendlies can fire at those torsos, get those weapons off.
Sure, and that's kind of something that really just takes time and experience and
exactly, and that takes time and practice and knowing the mechs, and that like a big help for knowing the mechs is playing the mechs. Like I have the Hellbringer and stuff, I know where the torsos are, so, and like I have the dragon, I have some of the dragons actually, but from my experience playing the game, I know that many of the dragons have their ballistic hardpoints in their right arm. So when you see a dragon, you want to fire at that arm, because taking out that arm takes out half the weapons. Perfect example is the Panther. A lot of the Panther's loadouts are into one of its arms, so if you take that arm out, it's stripped and it no longer has any weapons and it can't be a threat.
Right.
That's a big thing going into a battle, is knowing what is the easiest and quickest way to neuter a mech so that it's no longer a threat.
Okay, cool. So you're a brand new player, Pickle. You finished your 25 cadet matches. You've gone through the academy, which, by the way, if you're new to the game, don't buy any mechs until you've played all of your cadet matches and play all of the trial mechs. And also go through the academy, because you do get some additional C-bills out of that. You come out of the of the cadet matches and the academy the kind of the academy stuff with a fair amount of C-bills. And if I can suggest, if you can do it all in one night, do it, because when you first start the game, you get 24 hours of premium time as part of when you first start playing the game. So utilize that extra boost. We will be giving away some premium time and whatnot. Hey, Jiffy, we will be giving away some premium time. We'll do a couple MWO care package giveaways tonight, which will be each care package is 48 hours of premium time, a mech bay, and 1,000 MC, which of course you can use for tons of in-game content. So back to the question. I'm going to pose the question actually to all three of you. So Pickle, actually all four of you, Deadfire, Need a Pickle, Deadfire, Tofurkey, and Dat Booty, as to what would be your first light mech purchase, and a brief kind of description as to why. And if we can try to make it so that way we have suggestions on both the clan side and the Innersphere side, that'll be good. So Pickle, we'll start with you.
All right.
What would be your first mech purchase, and light mech purchase, and why?
Very first mech you ever want to purchase ever, in my personal opinion, and I guess I could be a little biased towards this, because I like the mech so much, and I'll explain as to why. For the IS side, it has to be the Wolfhound, hands down. There are a lot of advantages that the Wolfhound has over other mechs, and I'll explain those in detail in just a sec. Like very first light mech you ever want, in my opinion, would probably be the light mech. It's a little big as like normal light mechs go. It's a little tall, but what's great about it is it's got some armor quirks. So it's got a lot of armor. Like my Wolfhound, for example, has 61 CT armor. I can probably rearrange the armor values a little bit, but it's generally a tanky mech. In terms of the physical mech itself, it's got decently big arms, so it can it can torso twist effectively and block the shots coming at it with its arms. So it can arm block its torsos if it wants to. And it's,
so arm block, is that so? What you're referring to there is because you got weapons on like the Wolfhound 2, for instance, has laser points on the right arm and nothing on the left arm, so you would shield.
Yeah, exactly. So you can use the left arm as a shield to block your torso and the rest of your weapons, that allowing your laser arm to not take fire. You can also use your laser arm if you want to torso twist if you don't have the other arm left. That works out well because then you're not taking damage with that left torso. If the right torso, if the arm is blown off. But yeah, it can roll damage very well as well. The torsos are pretty small. It's easy to wash damage over the mech. What else?
And it moves pretty fast too.
It does move pretty fast. Mine moves at 144 kph with speed tweak. I got the max engine in here. And it's another big thing about it is its loadout. I have 6. Let me just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 medium pulse lasers in here, and that packs a walloping 30 firepower alpha. You probably won't think, that's probably not great, but for a light mech, it's pretty good. So yeah, like the Wolfhound, it's got good hard points. It's got good hitboxes. It can roll damage well. It's fast. It's got a good amount of armor. The only downside that I would say the Wolfhound has is its lack of jump jets and its relatively long legs. But I don't think that really factors in too heavily, considering what I've seen them do and what I can do with them personally, and also what I've seen other players way better than me do with them.
Sure.
And it's a great mech for learning the ropes when it comes to playing lights, because it's got everything you need it to do, and it can do everything you want it to do very well, except for jump jets, which I guess isn't really that big of an issue. So Wolfhound on the IS side. Now, if we were to talk about the clan side, there are a few options that I would go for.
Just one.
Sorry.
Yeah. One on.
Oh, just one?
Just
one? Okay.
Again, you have, because don't forget, once you're finished all of your cadet matches and everything, you have 4 mech bays, right? So it assumes that you're going to buy an assault, a heavy, a medium, and a light.
Okay, gotcha.
So one recommendation.
Okay, so the one recommendation, the one that I immediately went to, was the Arctic Cheetah. Let me just quickly get my cheetah out so I can stare at it. Much like the Wolfhound, it's smaller than the Wolfhound actually, but it's got, I would say, decent hitboxes. It's kind of hard to hit it. It has jump jets built into the mech. It is a clan mech. Downside to it is, plus side is it can get a torso blown off before it dies. Getting both torsos or the CT obviously makes it explode. But in terms of hard points, it's got a decent amount of hard points. You can put like lasers on it. You can put a decent amount of lasers on it. You can also put machine guns on it to crit out enemy components. It's got jump jets, so you can jump away if you're on a map like Mining Collective, for example. You want to jump up onto a platform away from an enemy, you can do that. If you want to run a build that can 1v1 a mech, it can do it decently well. It's got a decent amount of armor. It doesn't have as much armor. Actually, it doesn't have not nearly as much armor as the Wolfhound. But if you still want to use it for that purpose, you can. You can build it with medium pulse or small pulse. It's got the mobility. It can go fast. It's got jump jets. I feel like I'm repeating myself here.
You are, but that's okay. That's okay. It's allowed because you're a little nervous and you're rambling a little bit, but that's okay. It's all good.
I guess I am. But you can fill it with a wide variety of builds that will work and suit you well.
Sure.
And it's same thing with the Wolfhound. It can torso twist to allow its arms to take damage where you don't want the torsos to take damage. So if you fill the torsos up with lasers, you can torso twist to do that with it.
Okay.
And
Cool. So Thank you for that, Pickle. So there we go. So Pickle's vote is for the Wolfhound. I assume you're referring more specifically to the Wolfhound 2.
Well, yeah, because that's my experience with the Wolfhound.
Yeah.
Is I have 2 Wolfhound 2s, and I have 2 different builds on them, and I've played them a crap ton, and I very much enjoy them. I haven't really touched the other Wolfhounds, but the reason why you want to go for the Wolfhound 2 is because it has the hard points in the right locations to make it super viable, and also to to side stack it. So then you have all your lasers on one side, and not spread across the mech. This also allows you to poke from one side, so you can poke from the left side more often than not, and allowing your right side to become more of a shield.
Gotcha. All right, Deadfire. What would be your favorite light picks? And you can agree with Pickle if you wanted to. It's not, you don't have to pick a different mech than Pickle, by the way. If you want to say that his picks are good, I'm happy with that.
Really, it's up to. There's a lot of different types of light mechs. I mean, you can also do most of the light mechs themselves are light harassers, like what Pickle was saying with the Wolfhound. There are others though that do exist in terms of like ranged poking games, as it were. The Panther, I like for doing that. Because it's a different play style than the light harasser. You're essentially poking people that are being injured by your allies, and then you're basically, well, what other people would say kill stealing, but you're essentially you're maneuvering the battlefield effectively.
You're maneuvering to allow yourself to flank the enemy, so then you have multiple friendly mechs firing at one target.
Right.
Versus just from one side.
Right. So essentially, you're not a harasser. You're not a light that basically goes after other lights. You're more of a light that goes after bigger targets. And I mean those the Panther. I mean there's the Zulu, and then there's of course the 10K. PPCs are large lasers. Essentially, you are very, but you have to be mobile. But at the same time, you have all of your weapons in one arm. So the majority of your time is going to be spent protecting that arm. So you can't really fight one-on-one. You're basically going to be fighting with your allies, essentially doing damage with that, and letting your allies take the damage versus yourself.
It does help you practice torso twisting, though, for blocking quite a bit.
Yeah. Although there isn't much blocking to be had with the light.
Yeah.
There's not enough. Actual geometry for your mech to withstand enemy fire to cover up your arm. I mean, you can try, but the gist is that if they want to hit it, they will. And you can't let them do it.
Sure. And I would argue that the light mechs probably don't have enough armor to really shield more than, say, one alpha strike, and even then that's debatable.
Yeah, for the most part they don't, and that's where not standing still and not running in a straight line really come into play. A light mech's greatest strength is its mobility, is its ability to run over 100 kph, because it's very difficult to fire on the mech running over 100 kph while also zigzagging across the map.
Sure. Okay, so Deadfire, you like the Panther for its peeking ability, and the fact that the hero looks actually pretty badass. I've got one of these.
Well, I mean, it also is a very good learning mech. If you're newer to the game and you're trying to figure out sort of how lights work and how you're still kind of in that phase of you're not ready to take on things 1v1 sort of thing. You're basically still learning where to shoot at, what to shoot at. It's a very effective mech for yourself to learn how the gameplay works, what you need to hit. And then when you actually do get into a light harasser role like the Wolfhound sort of thing, you become a lot more effective because essentially you're already understanding how lights play in terms of how the speed and the fact that you can't take weapons fire very easily, but also the weak points that you were firing at when you had a Panther.
Right. Okay. So Panther, of course, is an inner sphere mech. So what would be, I guess, a similar, or what would be your clan mech pick then if somebody they wanted to start playing clan?
There is the Adder. A lot of people will groan at the fact that the Adder does exist still. The Adder, The advantages with the Adder is that it is much the same. The Panther, except it, of course, has 2 arms that contain the 2 PPCs, so you can have 2 PPCs, basically one in each arm. And we're talking, of course, the Panther A. But you can also put a lot more lasers on it too. There, again, it can be both a harasser and that, but the Adders are slow. They're real slow, comparable to other lights, and they're not exactly going to be tanky either. They're just basically as lightly armed or armored as your other lights. So essentially, a lot of people just stay away from them in general, but they are very effective at doing this range game. Sort of light. For other lights on the clan side, it's basically, I mean, there's the Kid Fox who can do the same thing, but again, the speed is the issue.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
So people also could argue the Arctic Cheetah can be used, but I see the Arctic Cheetah as a harasser, not a ranged mech.
Sure. Okay, so we got so Pickle talked about the Wolfhound and the Arctic Cheetah. Deadfire, you spoke about the Panther and the Adder. I will say I agree with all of these so far. I have all of those mechs. I don't play the Panther as much as I'd like to, but I do play it on occasion. The Wolfhound 2 is a new mech to me, and is definitely one that I have a lot of fun playing. I do the 6 ER medium build rather than the 5 medium pulse, but it's just a ton of fun. And the Adder, I have to get back into playing it. It's a bit slow. You're right, Deadfire. It's a slower mech. It's kind of like the Cougar in that it's a slow mech, but it actually has a lot of versatility that people don't realize. It's a non-light. It's a light doing non-light things, but it's also doing light things because lights don't necessarily have to be running around the enemy's ankles to be doing anything. So let's go over to Tofurkey. So Tofurkey,
I've got a bit of an off-the-wall recommendation.
But keep in mind, so I kind of mentioned this before. I
was going to say the Piranha, but you're talking Sea Bills, and that's not out yet.
I'm talking Sea Bills, and we're gearing this towards somebody who has just installed the game or is just coming back to the game after not playing for a couple of years and wanting to know where to start.
Yeah, with the current meta as it is, and the kind of fun that I think my recommendation would be more for someone who is of an aggressive playstyle, and for the clan side, say the Mistlinks, being the G variant with the lasers and the machine guns, and just machine guns right now are really strong, and kind of it is a risk reward playstyle. So if you're a very aggressive player, you're probably going to end up getting mushed a lot, but you'll start learning from that, and you can have a lot of fun, just kind of sticking around with your team, doing a couple of laser fires, and then getting in there and opening up a big barrage of machine guns. It just is fun to play. Even if you get blown up, that time that you're firing off, you're just enjoying yourself, while also getting to play around with a little light mech.
Sure.
So that would be my recommendation, without going back with like the Arctic Cheetah, which is kind of a mainstay clan starting late. For the I don't really have anything different to say for the IS side, except maybe if you like poking, and I'm sure there's better mechs for it, the Raven has quite a few different variants, but it does have an ECM variant, I think.
Yes, it has an ECM variant. You can put 2 ER large lasers on it. It works out well for a long-range sniper.
Exactly. What I was thinking was, if people who are coming into a game, I know when I came in and was looking up mechs, I saw a lot of posts and whatnot, like, what is the sniping mech? What is the blah, blah, blah? And there's not really sniping in this, but there's PPCs and large lasers, and the Raven can boat the dual large lasers quite well.
Indeed, it can. One of the first mechs I actually owned in this game, the very first mech I ever bought in this game for in-game C-Bills, when I first started playing, was the Raven. It was the Raven 3L, actually. And the reason why was because it was the only mech that I knew from MechWarrior 4 going in. I was like, hey, that's a Raven. So I spent a large amount of time in the Raven, not knowing what I'm supposed to be doing. So it's great to teach new players how to properly play mechs, because I always remember back to my time when I started that I had no idea what I was doing. So
right. Okay, so I want to hurry up and move this into a couple 1v1s.
Can I say one other thing though, real quick?
I don't know.
As to like, it's in regards to why I picked these as well, aside from the mystics. But the other thing is ECM. A lot of light mechs. Well, there is a lot of them that carry it and a lot that don't. But for new players kind of getting into it, I feel like ECM is kind of a big thing to help out with learning it. You can become a little bit dependent on it, but it really helps with that. In the early levels when there's a lot of lurms, being able to break locks and kind of keep it out of sight a bit easier.
Yeah, and I guess using that as a way to protect your assaults and all that kind of stuff to keep them out of any LRM fire or anything like that.
Yeah. I think this may be too far to talk about, but I guess I kind of want to touch on it just in case. Like, don't get me wrong, I love the Raven. It's one of my favorite mechs in game. I'm just going to use the Raven specifically as an example because I know Tofurkey talked about it. There are a few things you have to look out for when running a mech like the Raven. The Stalker and the Catapult also have this issue, whereas if you turn the Raven to its side, it's got that large beak. It's got that large side section of it. So if you get shot anywhere along that side, that counts as side torso. And because most, in this specific situation with the Raven, most light mechs run XL engines. You don't typically want to run a non-XL engine in a light mech because then it's just going too slow. So
fusion's a good replacement.
That's true. That is true. That is a good counter to it. But there are a few issues involving that as well. Less tonnage, but light LFEs are definitely a good idea for light mechs. But if you're going to be running an XL, you want to make sure that you're really paying attention to where your torso is facing and where the enemies are, because if you get a lot of fire put into the side of that Raven, it will die because the side torso is so big it can easily be hit. In the case with the Stalker, that's why so many Stalkers you see are running around with no arms and no arms or torsos or anything, because their torsos are so massive. It is so easy to hit them. It's more difficult to hit the CT on the Stalker than it is to hit the torso. And hitting the torso takes off the torso and the arm that it's attached to, which if you have weapons on that arm, there go your weapons, and there go any weapons or anything that you had inside that torso as well. So if you're going to be running a mech like the Raven, you're going to have to watch out for that.
Sure. All right, so I want to move this into a couple of the 1v1 matches that we want to do here. And the purpose of the 1v1s is really to just kind of like illustrate some of the things that we've been talking about here. But before I do that, Dat Booty, and I see JT has joined us. So Dat Booty, your recommendation on a first light mech, Inner Sphere and Clan. Short, just reason why, but let's try not to take it too verbose of an answer.
Okay, the Atlas. I'm kidding. Honestly, probably the Locust, because when you're like,
and keep in mind, this is brand new players, right? So
brand new players.
Brand new player.
It is arguably, it is the smallest light mech in the game, and a lot of people are like tier 5. They'd be taking, they got tunnel vision. They're going to be taking damage from the rear, and they're just like, okay, what the heck is shooting me? And they can't see it because the little thing is right under their legs. Mm-hmm. most cases.
Right.
Also, well, gotta go fast.
Gotta go fast indeed. All right, so that's Inner Sphere. What about on the Clan side?
Probably the Cougar, because it's able to boat like such high alpha capability, like your Gauss rifle medium laser combo, and I have one that has 2 heavy larges and 4 ER mediums, and it's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, the Cougar C comes stock with a Gauss rifle and 5 ER mediums, which is bloody ridiculous. I got it set to 3 ER mediums, just so I can have some more ammo and heat management. Okay, so there we go. JT, JT, I saw you sneak in there. So you don't have to answer this, by the way, if you don't want to. But we're focusing just on light mechs. For what would be your recommended first pick as a light mech for somebody who's just started the game or just coming back and finally getting into buying they're just getting into buying mechs, and you can say that somebody else is fine and leave it at that if you want.
Or Inner Sphere, Raven. There's a lot better, but you learn a lot with the Ravens. As far as the clan goes, I'd stick with something like the Mistlings.
Yeah, it's the smaller profile, the boating of machine guns, and the mobility of the Mistlings. Go Mistlings.
It's a fun thing. Like, I mean, I'm glad I started off with the Autochia because of jump jets.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish they'd come out with the Mistlings as it is when I started, because I would have jumped on that. That little thing can fly so high. You have that, was it the Knuckle Dragger you came up with
That's the
one PPC on it?
That's the Panther. Yeah, the Panther had the Knuckle Dragger.
Are you sure it wasn't the Mistlings?
Yep.
All right, I always thought it was Mistlings. Anyways, but
Or
you
no.
can do quite a bit with it. Pretty sure it was one PPC in the one arm.
Well,
and nothing in the other.
it was PPC and ECM. That's why I'm pretty sure
Okay.
it was the Panther. But
I thought it was this. Anyways, it's like it can go pretty fast. It's got a small. It's bigger than Locust, but not a heck of a lot more. And machine guns. It just feels awesome to have 8 machine guns going.
absolutely. So this is what I'm gonna do. We're gonna do this. No, you're gonna be. Well, this is convenient.
A little too convenient.
A little too convenient.
Oh, great.
So I am going to be showing everything from a third-person view, and again, this isn't a kind of a showcase of skill, aka somebody going up against Pickle. If you're not on your A game, you're going to lose because Pickle's really damn good with lights. But it's more just to kind of show what the mobility is like for lights, and taking shots at each other and shooting each other.
So what is the exact goal of this? Are we trying to, or like we're gonna get up next to each other and we're gonna talk about things and then like move into a 1v1, or how are we?
I mean, that's my tactic.
So my suggestion is everybody should be in a different light mech. You can reveal what mechs you're going to drop in now, because one of the things I want to show, because I know we're coming to the end of the Newbie Tuesday, and I want to end it with the actual battle. But what I'd like to be able to do is I'd like to show them, because a couple of you guys posted on this, and that's the scaling of the mech, and how big or how small the mech is, and also with how fast it moves.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So
that'd be a good idea,
so having four of you all in different mechs, it will help me to kind of show the scaling of these mechs, just to have everybody literally just stand in a line and we can show you.
Okay, so just to confirm, nobody is firing at each other.
Nobody's
okay.
firing. I said at the 20 minutes to give us time to kind of do this. We'll do match time both. Full teams no enhancements. Not doing stock loadouts or anything like that. So Booty, what mech are you in?
I'm in the Jenner Oxide.
Okay, Tofurkey.
I'm in a Piranha.
Okay,
One.
nice. Pickle.
I'm in the Wolfhound 2R.
Of course. Deadfire.
I am in a fire starter named Backpack.
Oh, you're in a fire starter. Nice.
Named it Backpack.
All right, so this is good. Actually, we have a really good mixture of mechs, and we'll get a chance to see what they look like from a scaling point of view here.
Is that the C-Bill or the MC Firestarter?
E?
Dad?
Dad?
Which Firestarter is it? Okay, so
What does the E stand for?
I don't have one yet, and I'm looking. I want to get one because I've seen them running around, and they've always caught my eye, especially with those annoying flamethrowers.
Okay, so go into the middle, go between the red and the green blobs, and look to the left. That's where I am.
In the middle of the green blops?
Yeah, no, right between the green and the red. You'll see the green and the red there.
I see it.
So then line up and look to the left.
Which is left?
The red team's facing to the right, which is fine. You know what? I can deal with that. All right, so this is good. So Piranha, turn around and join the rest of the compatriots there.
I was facing the right way.
Yeah, you were. The rest of them weren't. So you can, even though they're standing on a bit of a hill here, you can kind of see the difference, right? The Wolfhound and the Jenner are the same height, but the Wolfhound is actually offset because it's standing lower. Then you got the Firestarter. It's actually a pretty tall mech, and you got this Piranha that's sitting in the middle. But you can see this is a really this is kind of a really good way to think of it when you're looking at mechs, so, especially for something like the Piranha, the Raven. Well, not supposed to Raven, but the Piranha and the Locust, because the Piranha and the Locust are scaled very similar. In that, Pickle talked about it earlier, is that you get armor based on speed, right? You got a fast mech. Hang on a second. Okay, so I don't know if you guys can see this. But looking at the Piranha at this, when I'm at this level, it looks like it looks like there's a big giant beard. It looks like he's wearing sunglasses, and then the actual where the cockpit is, it's just a big giant beard. I could totally see it.
I can kind of see it a little bit.
if you're
it kind of looks like he's looking up.
It does, yeah. It looks like he's yeah. All right, so the important thing to remember here is that the mech scaling does matter. So I'm just going to take a look from the side here. You can see how they stack out, and the Jenner is actually one of those that's rather hilarious. We call it the USS Jenner Prize on purpose, and it's because its nose sticks way the hell out. All right, you guys can go ahead and break off onto your sides. It's going to be Pickle versus Tofurkey. It's gonna be
what?
Yep, and then Dat Booty versus Deadfire. So Pickle and Tofurkey go to the red blotch, either side of the red blotch, and Deadfire and Booty go to the opposite sides of the green blotch there. And
I'm just gonna power down right here, okay, bud?
Okay.
All right, so there we go. You're gonna power down right there. All right, at 17 minutes, even both of you guys go ahead. Or all four go ahead. You can see here, Tofurkey really has the machine gun fire, right? And then Dat Booty, you're Jenner. It's the SRM boat, right?
Yep. Quad SRM4.
A quad SM4 Oxide, and then Deadfire's got medium lasers and heavy machine guns. Ooh, that's gonna be brutal. In the meantime, Tofurkey got halved. Tofurkey got dead, but not before. You see, but so one of the things we didn't talk about is if you are playing against lights. Tofurkey did something that he really should have done, and that is go for the legs. Go for leg day, because Pickle is missing a leg now.
Yes, that is true. So, but my right leg is gone. My left leg is red. So he did a good job on my legs. What he didn't do though is torso twist. So if he were to torso twist,
not with machine guns.
Sure, you can. Because every single time I open fire on you, I hit straight CT, without the odd exception of going up a hill or something. So it would have been.
Oh.
You may have been able to open up my leg or possibly take me out if you had torso twist and kept your CT alive.
All right.
So in both cases, for both 1v1s. Okay. Oh, your team actually fully won.
One legs. That had ammo in it.
So oh no. So one of the things that you should have noticed through watching both of those 1v1s, which we were watching them in a third-person view, trying to let people watch it from watch both of them at the same time, is that nobody stopped moving.
Yeah, a big thing that you want to make sure you do. I think I actually stopped a little bit there, and I got into a problem where he got into my back, and I couldn't twist around quick enough to get a good shot off on him because I had actually stopped moving, and that is a prime example why you do not want to stop moving when you're in a 1v1 against two lights. And another big thing is if you're in a 1v1 like that, you want to make sure you have override on, especially if you're running something like lasers. Because if you don't hit override and your mech shuts down, there's going to be a solid 5-6 seconds that your mech is just sitting there. And those 5 or 6 seconds can be the deciding factor between if you die or if you don't die. And 90% of the time, you die.
Yeah, I kind of had that with JT the other night.
Yeah, that's the problem that I got into in that one was I stopped moving. And Tofurkey was able to take out my leg, and then he hugged my back, which was a good thing on his part because I couldn't actually loop around. Because when you get legged in any mech, your speed becomes drastically reduced. So your torso speed becomes reduced, and your rotation speed becomes reduced, so you can't turn as quickly. And I couldn't turn around quick enough to get him, but he just happened to walk in front of me, and that was the end of him.
Yeah. One thing I have to say though. I hadn't noticed it as much before, but I noticed in this is like with the Piranha specifically, such a very narrow range of vision.
Yes, that too.
I almost couldn't tell I was on your back.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like it was actually really especially when you're moving quite a bit. And I was probably moving a bit more sporadically than someone of higher skill level, but like it was kind of hard to tell that I was at your back, and then to tell which way you were trying to shift. As I'm, trying to move.
Yeah, and I guess that is another thing that we can touch on is cockpits. Some of the cockpits, like for example, the Piranha, are more narrow and don't allow you to see enough around you that you may need to see. Whereas in the case like with the Firestarter or the Wolfhound, they have a bigger, more open cockpit, allowing you to see more outside, which is very helpful. Because, if you're zoomed in a little bit and you're focusing on a bunch of mechs like halfway across the map and you're telling your team, you're like, hey, look, I've got 8 mechs over on this side. They're moving over here. You may not see the light mech pushing up like to your right, coming up to you. That light mech might be just out of your vision because your cockpit is so narrow. I'm just going to use in the case of the Piranha, that light mech might be just outside your field of vision. And if you don't see him, you could think that you're safe. So you sit there for a few more seconds. Next thing you know, you're dead because a light mech came up behind you and cored out your back. So I don't really know if that ties into the deciding factor of buying a mech. Deadfire, I think you would probably have a better idea about that sort of thing and be able to elaborate on that a bit.
Well, before we get into that, just somebody pointed out something really important, and that is, so there was the comment about using override and everything. You should use override, but you got to be really careful with your heat. As a new player, if you start using override early, you're going to blow up a lot.
Yes, you're right.
And you will eventually get it, and you won't. You won't overheat so much and blow yourself up so much. I take the stance of at first you should try to avoid override, but you should just practice good fire discipline. Get to the point where you can ride that 99-98% heat, and then you can start using that override, and you can kind of let yourself go over a little bit, because when you override and your heat your heat goes over 100%, your mech starts taking internal damage, and that could get really bad, especially late in the game when your mech is already damaged, you're already kind of cored out, and
you want to stay as fresh as possible in those engagements. But you do touch on a valid point. The reason why we use override, for me specifically, is so I can keep moving. I'll crest just over 100 and then wait for my heat to drop back down, until I can fire again. But but unless it's a very specific situation where I'm grasping at straws, I'm not going to continue firing once my mech like reaches 95 or 90 heat. I'm not going to put a full alpha into someone and override. My main usage for override is to prevent my mech from stopping, because a stopped light mech, no matter where you are in the battlefield, is a dead light mech, because you don't know when the mech could come up behind you or in front of you and kill you. And depending on your armor values and stuff, you do not want to be stopped.
For sure.
So yeah, so that's the main reason why I have override on majority of the time. But yeah, as a new pilot, you of course want to learn not to get over 100, because you do take a lot of damage from override.
And I'll say,
and you're also in a light.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
All right, so we're coming to the end of the Newbie Tuesday portion, which means for all of the fantastic folks that I have here in the panel, Nita Pickle, Deadfire, Tofurkey, JT, Dad Booty, and now Dark Templars join us as well. We got lots of Cranky Old Canadians and 228 members here. Pickle, I'll start with you. Kind of your final thoughts and missives. I'll say relatively brief thoughts and missives, just to give everybody a chance to say something before we switch over to community drops and we get in, of course, to opening for the first MWO Care Package giveaway. What are your final thoughts on your final pieces of advice for a new player getting into piloting lights?
Final pieces of advice, I don't know. I mean, just, learn the role of your specific mech. Continue practicing your skills, practice your positioning. I'm just going to summarize what I said previously. Don't stand still. Don't run in a straight line. Again, know your role. Know what you're supposed to do. And yeah, like positioning, that just comes with experience. Shameless plug incoming. I hope you don't mind, Nettie, but I stream on a regular basis, and I typically play light mechs when I stream. So if you ever have any questions about light mechs or anything, I'll be happy to answer them. Just hop in my stream and ask me any questions you want. There's also a bunch of other streamers out there and a bunch of other players that will answer any questions you may have. It's all a learning experience. The MechWarrior online community and streaming community is very friendly and very open to helping newer players and any players on that matter. So yeah, just if you have any questions, if anyone have any questions, I guess, about anything, just feel free to ask. Someone will answer your question and be nice about it.
Sure. All right, Deadfire.
Yes.
Final thoughts. light mechs.
A light mech pilot is normally one of those people who, in competitively play, we basically say have ADHD. You're focusing on a lot of different things, a lot of different times, and you're being relied upon by your team for quite a bit in sort of matches or competitive play. And so essentially, it's not a game type that a lot of people sort of actually enjoy playing, because again, you have to be focused on not only where you are, your positioning what the enemy is, the map type, ways to engage, ways not to engage. You're constantly having to always keep thinking, keep reacting, keep going. And it's not a game type play that a lot of people, I find, really enjoy. It's mostly people that basically come from Twitch shooters that actually enjoy light play. A lot of people are kind of turned off by the fact that they get killed instantaneously just for doing one thing wrong, and that's really what the payoff is with the light. Though you can do massive amounts of damage and not really take any in return because of how fast, speedy, maneuverable you are, and the low frame that you have, obviously, for weapons play. You can sneak up to things. You can pretty much do a lot of things with impurity. But the trade-off is, of course, that you have to be able to do those things, smartly, having to be able to understand how you can do those things to actually be effective. And when you're not effective, you get killed really easily. Mm-hmm. And it's not, don't get me wrong, and Pickle has a lot of experience with this. It takes a long time to become a good light pilot. You don't become a very good pilot overnight. It's not a very fast process. unlike a heavy or an assault or even a medium. Whereas, you know, you can recognize the weapon systems, you can utilize those things really well. With light play, it's a lot more about how you can do a lot of the different things almost at the same time, almost like juggling, obviously.
Yeah, and I'm just going to elaborate a little bit on what you said, Deadfire. You did make some really good points. Another one, as you also mentioned earlier, is patience. You have to have a lot of patience and just wait for the right moments, because waiting for the right moments could be a deciding factor. Like if you don't wait, if you don't, I don't know how to explain this. Like if you don't wait for the right moment to engage or not to engage, that could be the deciding factor between if your team wins that fight or if you don't win that fight. And there's a lot of things that go into piloting lights that you have to be aware of, and you have to know the basics. And I guess a little bit more than the basics of the game to properly play light mechs and play them to their fullest potential.
Sure. Tofurkey, your final thoughts.
If you want to, I don't know, light's probably not the best first mech to play. Medium or heavy is probably the better way to go.
Mm-hmm.
And there's definitely mediums that act like lights that will give you, that are a little bit more forgiving. If you want to go that route. However, if you like a little bit of punishment and you like going fast, they're fun. And there are some really cheap, dirty things you can do with them, like locusts with stealth armor that you can't even see because they're standing still, which is a hard rule you're breaking. But you can get away with that sometimes. And also like javelins, which are like miniature assassins running around with SRMs blowing your butt up. They're just, if you like mobility and agility, which is the kind of thing I like the most, it's a good thing to get into. And then if you go further into it, you start finding they're really good scouts, you spotting enemies and kind of being able to like forewarn everyone about the flank that's coming up and, help the team out.
Sure. Okay. Dat Booty, final thoughts, if any.
Don't do drugs, kids.
but don't you have to be like on Adderall or something to really be like really good at being a light pilot?
Yes, you need to be super alert. If you're tired and playing light mechs, that's not going to end well. Like you need to be really alert and be always paying attention to what's around you and what the enemy team are doing, because that's a really big aspect of playing a light mech is positioning yourself to see the enemy team where they don't see you, and also relaying what the enemy team is doing. That way your team can set up a proper defense for that.
Sure.
Can I just say, Nutty told me I should play lights, and so I kind of went with it initially. And hearing all this stuff is bringing up a lot of questions about what he thinks about me.
Yes.
Don't even get me started when I used to play Unreal Tournament.
Yeah, we'll get into that. Let's just wrap up the Newbie Tuesday, because I want to get the giveaway going here. JT, any final thoughts from you?
The best light pilots usually know more about a chassis than the person actually doing it. They'll know everything about assault, heavy, and mediums and lights, as opposed to just specializing in lights. That's my experience with them.
Yeah, and I kind of touched on that as well before about knowing the specifics of the other mechs that you're up against. That way you can focus specific torsos and specific mechs, like I talked about with the Hellbringer, focusing that left torso because that's where all the lasers are and stuff. So yeah, and he's right. A big part of it is also knowing that and calling out that to your team.
Absolutely. All right. So that, I think, is going to be it for the Newbie Tuesday portion of the stream. What we're going to do is I'm going to cut everybody up here to the other Twitch channel, or to the Discord channel, because we are going to switch over to community drops here. We do have a pretty large contingent of 228 and Cranky Old Canadian members, but people from the community are welcome to join in. Obviously, we're going to play lights and probably some mediums, so we can go all the way up to 12 here tonight. If you are new to the game, you do get to the front of the line, so just let us know in the chat if you are a new player and you want to group up with some of us and have a little bit of fun. We do ask that you are in Discord with us. You don't have to speak in Discord, don't worry. It's just so that way you can at least hear us. when we're calling out targets, because we don't, when we're all in Discord like this, we don't usually use in-game comms. So Pickle, Deadfire, Tofurkey, JT, Dat Booty, thank you for coming in here for Newbie Tuesday for lights. This was a fantastic Newbie Tuesday stream. Pickle, you provided us with a ton of information, really good information.
You're welcome.
Really glad that you agreed to come in and do this. Next week, Newbie Tuesday will be on pause because I have a scrim to do on next